And what started Rep in a modern sense, George Bernard Shaw, the Irishman, said, a person that started Rep, she started the first of the modern theatre movement. And she started the Rep movement in Manchester. I'll explain that in a few minutes. But there was a theatre in Manchester called the Gaiety that was available. And this Irish lady, well, she was an English family living in Dublin, very wealthy, came from a very wealthy family, and she helped Lady Gregory and W.B. Yeats make viable the Abbey Theatre Company. And she was there some time, but she became a little bit disillusioned because of the politics and the very nationalist approach that they had to theatre. And she heard of this theatre in Manchester, the Gaiety, and with her money she bought the theatre, the Gaiety, in 1908 with the family money, with part of the family money. As I say, they were very wealthy, and they were wealthy because they were tea importers. They imported tea, and she wanted to start a company with a permanent cast that people could come and see, with a repertoire of plays in rotation, doing contemporary plays, classics, comedies, but particularly for the working class people working in industry and in the mills of Manchester and Greater Manchester. So she would keep her prices to the minimum, and the workers were getting more time, so they were able to come along to matinees, and this was her dream, to create a culture, a theatre culture. And she felt Manchester was the right sort of place. It had 3 art galleries, it had a number of libraries that were developing where people could improve themselves. There was a feeling for self-improvement and culture, and she felt she could add to that by this theatre and doing different plays at the Gaiety. She was fortunate in that for Greater Manchester, people could come in on the train to Central Station, and the theatre was only about 4 minutes away. So the theatre was easily got to. And she was an English person living in Dublin. That's where they made the fortune. And I think that was part of the problem with the Abbey, the fact that there was the English-Irish conflict. So it all worked well, and they started doing plays. She also wanted to start a school of Manchester playwrights and involve writers writing about local issues. There was Stanley Horton, who wrote Into Wakes, Harold Grimshaw, I think it was, that wrote Hobson's Choice. They were there. She also had some very good artists. Dame Sybil Thorndike was a member of the company, before she was a dame, of course. Basil, sorry?
Basil Dean?
Not Basil Dean, actually. Must be, excuse me while I look at my notes. It's age, you see. Basil Dean, yes indeed. Who, of course, ran Ealing Studios for quite a long time, and in later years actually directed at Liverpool Playhouse. And so the Gaiety was a successful repertory theatre, doing a variety of different plays, some about local issues, and she attracted a large number of people, mainly people working in and around Manchester. But it wasn't long before she realised that the money was running out. And the culture issue, the theatre was very well known throughout the whole country, and she had a great reputation. And from what she did followed other theatre companies, rather prestigious companies like Birmingham, Liverpool, Northampton, Bristol, Glasgow. And they were all very successful a bit after she'd been going. But come about 1915, she found, she came to the realisation that theatre was not really sustainable without a subsidy. And this was not easy. Manchester also had the Halley Orchestra, which I think did have a subsidy. But Manchester local authority were not very helpful. And in 1917, she had to dissolve the company because the money just ran out. So financially, she was, it wasn't very successful. Culturally, she was very successful because other cities had learned about this very successful company because she produced, I say successful because she produced such good work. And out of that, Annie Horniman's company grew to Birmingham, Bristol, Glasgow, Northamptonshire, I think Leicester at a later date, York, and there came this enthusiasm within towns, with cities particularly, for good theatre. But the money ran out in Manchester. The other companies that I mentioned seem to be more successful in subsidy.